Okay, next on the agenda, Mr. Kilgore. Mr. John Kilgore.
Glad to be here presenting today and talk about economic development. And if you have any questions as I'm going through the presentation, give time to come up on the screen. Be glad to answer what I can. There we go. There. We'll start with small business support, and we continue, of course, to support small business. And how we do that, we of course focus on the existing business as well, but also the small business. We have a loan program, and we support those with ribbon cuttings. And you may or may not know, of course, we share office with the Chamber of Commerce, so we actually share staff. So, you know, 2/3 of the staff is EDA, and 1/3 is the Chamber pays for that. So we do share staff, and that's been great for us to have that staff. And as you well know, of course, Penny knows a lot about everything, so if you have questions with either one of us, please ask either one of us, and we will help with that. The one thing that we're working with the Chamber on right now is the leadership class, which we do a leadership program with the Chamber and through the Chamber and Mountain Empire Community College. And if you're interested in that program, I encourage you to take it, or encourage citizens to take it. You learn a lot about the county as you take that leadership class. You go on a tour of the county, and it's very beneficial. So we also do on the ribbon cuttings, we do a 90-day chamber membership to new businesses. We also recently, we did that about a year ago, we co-hosted an Airbnb online workshop, since that's a lot of movement's been going on in Airbnbs. It also helps spread the word about entrepreneurship workshops. We have organizations that actually sponsor those, like Small Business Development Center, the Virginia Community Capital, and we help sponsor those a lot and attend those events. And they can do those regionally as well. Of course, we're in the Lenawisco region. Sometimes those are held in Norton, Wise, or, you know, we've had those in Duffield as well. And we've also helped Mountain Empire Community College with the Summer Institute program, and they, of course, provide participants with the education on our local industry and what we're doing in our region. And we have, of course, worked with the agriculture on that side of it by creating a farmers market in Nicholasville. We received a grant from the Virginia Department of Ag, and also the ARPA funds from the county helped with that project, and that is up, and hopefully we'll have farmers using that facility this summer or spring, maybe starting spring. The program that we do, the loan program, we've had 40 loans approved to date, equating to $744,000. Our maximum loan amount that we can do to a new small business is $25,000. And that equates to 86 employees in the type of business, 8 tourism-related, 22 retail, and 10 support businesses. Takes a lot of time to work with these. Small Business Development Center helps tremendously with this process. They vet that company. They're required to do a business plan. They're required to turn in financials. We have a committee that reviews applications, and then they present those to the full board. And we have a financial person on that committee, and they look at all that data, and they make the recommendation to the full board, and then the full board approves those. A lot of times too is that same applicant can apply to the Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority Seed Capital Grant Program, and they have a program that's to a $10,000 grant, and that requires matching funds, so they could use our loan for that match for that grant to be CETA. 19 Scott County businesses have received grants from 2017 to 2022 for a total of $185,000 to the Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority. That's our regional economic development authority. Ribbon cuttings we participated in last year, of course, the Mamaw's House Airbnb. We also had the Maple Tree here in Gate City. And we also had the grand reopening and celebration of Food City, which of course included redoing the store, over $7 million investment, but also Starbucks, which you may think, well, Starbucks, but I actually had a prospect visit one time and say, where's the nearest Starbucks? Well, I had to send them to Kingsport. So we've got one in the county now, so I can answer that. We can go to Weber City and get Starbucks. So that's really good that we have that. Of course, we also help with expansions and projects in and around Duffield. Of course, this is an aerial view or a drone view of Temper Sealy. And you can tell just by the footprint by looking at it, basically about how many expansions they've had in the past. But they've had 5 expansions, and since their first announcement in 1999, and of course we've been tracking that since 2001, 2002, $90 million in investment total, and that's great for the county. If you think about all the industry in Duffield, you're looking at about a $1.3 million in tax revenue you're getting annually from the industry in Duffield. So with that expansions there, you also have another company, VFP, that announced in 1999 or 98 as well. They've had 5 expansions. The last expansion was about $7 million. Those total expansions close to $16 million. And they continue to grow there in Duffield. Initially had 2 manufacturing facilities, and one in Salem and one in Duffield. They moved all their manufacturing here to Duffield, and so that's where all of it's done. They have some engineering in Salem, but they do all their manufacturing here. Another thing that we've helped with as well is the Family Dollar Tree store in Duffield. And of course, that will open sometime this year, hopefully in the first quarter. And they had some issues with the site plan, environmental, and we helped them through that process. And they will take advantage of the enterprise zone later on, because they did build in the enterprise zone, and they'll get the benefit of that as well. Another priority that we have is, of course, marketing our assets, and assets we'll talk about initially is the Kruger Road Tech Center and the Scott County Business and Tech Park. So the Kruger Road Tech building sits in that park. And if you look at that, total grants for the Duffield that we've helped with is over $9 million. Total private investment in and around Duffield is $114.2 million. And as I said previously, the taxes annually on that is over in excess of $1.3 million. I'm just counting property. I didn't get into the detail of the personal property or anything like that. I was just looking at it, property and equipment. The Duffield, the Scott County Business and Tech Park sits right above the Duffield Industrial Park. There's no additional land available to build inside the Duffield Industrial Park. So this was created to add additional land that we could hopefully get additional business on. So that started with the development of this site, which is a 65-acre site. We have 40 developable acres. Of that, we've worked with TVA. We've got a pre-qualified data center site in this technology park. We've also worked on the Kruger Road Tech Center to make that, of course, it's a geothermal system, cooling system, and there are sites available next to the Kruger Road Tech building. We also have space available inside the building, which about 40% of the building is not occupied, so we could actually build that out to whoever the customer moving in, their specifications. But it is, you know, if you think about that, it don't cost the county any money because we're actually getting revenue from that, and then that revenue is poured back into the building itself in maintaining the building. Annually, it costs us about $90,000 to $95,000 a year to maintain the building, but it's taken care of. It's not in your all's budget at all. What we're working on now for this year is, you know, and Frida and I had talked about this before, but the Duffield, that Scott County Business and Tech Park, that was developed a long time ago, 2006. So in 2006, if we were looking at the categories that VEDP had on their tiering system that they came out with, we would be at a level 4 in 2006. They didn't have this program back then. So recently, VEDP came up with a tiering system, and they put us in at level 2. So we're at tier 2. So our plan for this year is to get that back to level 4 because the studies that were done back in 2006 are out of date. So we've got to redo those studies. So we'll have to do the environmental and all that and get all that up to date. That's included in 3 and get it up to 4 and hopefully maybe a 4+. So it'll be ready to go. And a lot of times when you're working with a prospect, they're wanting to know speed to market. How fast can I get in the building? How fast can I get on the site? Is it ready to go? If it's not ready to go, if I've got to move dirt, then I'm wasting time. So that's why we want to go and get this at a level 4 and work through VEDP. So we applied for a grant with VEDP through the Virginia Business Ready Site Program, and we can match that through the Virginia Tobacco Commission. So we've got that on the agenda for Tobacco Commission meeting next week. So once they determine, then we can notify VEDP. Maybe we'll get funding for that to get that to level 4. And we also, in the past, we helped with the Danny Boone Interpretive Center. Of course, that was county owned. We managed the project. And then at the end of that project, when that was finished, then that was turned over to the Department of Conservation and Recreation, National Tunnel State Park, and they're managing that facility. We also work on the Riverside development, which is another property that initial investment of that was a little over $2 million. And since that time, of course, this is the part that was actually rezoned, but also if we go back in time, there's always been a master plan that the board has been following. It's a mixed-use site. So you'd have retail, commercial up front, then you'd have either light industrial or technology or medical in the back, and maybe housing around the site. So it's always been designed or had a plan to be a mixed-use site. And the old plan, and the board re-upped that plan with Bart's Design a couple years ago, so that is the plan to do that. So since the initial $2 million investment, there's been another $2 million in grants and also $33.4 million in loans for the building, the existing building that's there, Teletech. We've had leads that, you know, they have not panned out, but we've had leads to look at the building. We've had prospects to look at the building, 3 in last year. So it's good to have a building. If you have a building, if you go back and think about Temper, why did Temper come here to Scott County? Well, they came to look at a building initially. Then they found the site. The site was across the road from there, and that's why they built here. And it was publicly owned site. So it's a 43-acre site. That's what Temper's on. So that's why they were able to build and expand and then move on from there. Regional partner organizations that we work with on leads, on getting new business in, prospects. You have, of course, Lennowisco. You also have Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority. We have Invest Southwest Virginia that has provided leads locally. And we also have the RIFA, Regional Industrial Facilities Authority. Freda and I serve on that board representing the county. That's comprised of Levi, Scott, Dixon, and the city of Norton, and of course Scott County. But we're serving on that because we want to think about the county in that, but also we want to be regionally focused. We can't depend on our workforce for our industrial park because it is a regional workforce that comes to Duffield to work. It is a regional workforce that goes to Wise County to work at their new site. It's a regional, just anywhere in our, and we have to depend on Tennessee workforce sometimes too to come over here to work as well. So we have to depend on that regionalism. So we're also on the Crooked Road. If you don't know, the Crooked Road started in Scott County. The first meeting was in Scott County at the Carter Fold. So that's a 20-year-old organization. Then you also had Friends of Southwest Virginia that kind of grew out of that Crooked Road and the regionalism at the Heartwood. So we have those things going on as well. 2023 prospects, we had, of course, 2 site visits last year. Site visits are not as frequent as they used to be. When I first started, you know, you could probably have 8 or 9 site visits, but they're doing a lot of that online now. You don't have a lot of site visits. They'll look at you online, or you'll have a Zoom call or something like that. These were actually 2 physical site visits where they came to the county, and we had 7 prospects that have an interest in Scott County that we're still working on. One of the projects that we worked on with the Virginia Department of Energy and of course other entities was the Devil's Bathtub project. It's a $353,000 project. We like one piece of that getting complete. The Appalachia Conservation Corps, they're finished with the trail work. We also got to finish the parking lot that's on the National Forest property. So when we finish that, then we'll be completed with the project, and we'll have some type of announcement at that time. They have improved the trail, and these pictures will kind of show you what they have done. Is they've improved the trail. What they did is eliminate a lot of the stream crossings to make it safer. It was not safe. We've had incidents in the facilities. Freda and the county can attest to that. We've had all kinds of incidents there where emergency personnel had to be dispatched in that, and it's hard to get to. So hopefully it may be a little easier. We'll have a lot better access there. And cell service has improved there, and of course the county has put in a hot spot there at our parking lot, and that has helped tremendously as well. And then this is the rope. If you've ever been up there, this is kind of toward the end of the trail. You had to hang on to that rope and kind of scoot across that mountain to get to the other side. So they've eliminated that, and they've built steps to go around it. So there's the view now that you'll see as you go up to the top. You'll see both that bottom and you'll see the Devil's Bathtub. It makes the view a lot beautiful. Yeah. Of course, in the Nicholsville Fire Department Farmers Market is the $25,000 for the Virginia Department of Ag and $25,000 for Mark on that, and hopefully we'll see if Ag's down this way, we'll do some type of announcement with them as well, Secretary of Ag. And there's a picture of that. Looking ahead, we talked about the application through VEDP. We also continue to focus on the Riverside development and small business development assistance, and of course the Carter Fold 50th anniversary and the Cricket Road 20th year anniversary. All that happens in 2024. Any questions?
Ms. Torrance is going to cover some of the answers you had for the questions that were presented. We got a lot of questions during campaigns about the EDA and in specific Riverside. Could you go over the Landstar and Riverside agreement and kind of lay it out on what was the agreement?
We only have, what we have, the EDA is a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with Landstar. They would help us in marketing that site and also help us in come up with a plan for housing and then present that back to the board.
So there's no commitments? On the vetting, there was another question that you responded to. Seems like the vetting process of new prospects is less than desirable. Do you have any recommendations going forward on the vetting process? Well, the one that comes to mind is Mountaintop. Why did that go wrong, and what can be done to prevent that from happening again?
Well, in that, the vetting process on that was we depended on the regional organization, which the Regional Economic Development Authority was involved in that. And also, a lot of people don't remember this because they weren't involved in the court case, is Virginia Community Capital, which is a financial arm, where it was also had funds in the project. And they were out early on, but they vetted the project too. So they reviewed all the financials and everything, business plan, along with BCTA. So there was not just one group involved. There was us plus 2 other organizations involved. And I think it's always good. And you said what do we need to do? Of course, always work with the region. And always work with the state. Sometimes the state gets involved in those, and they'll tell us whether that companies are a higher risk or not. If it's a new company, they consider that a higher risk.
Any properties, well, you mentioned in your responses, Crooked Road Tech Center, 60% capacity. Is there any delays in getting someone in that property? Is there anything standing in the way of getting someone in?
I don't think so. I think that we had, of course, we had somebody that actually moved in some of the offices last, let's see, that'd been November. So they took 5 offices that were kind of, they were next to Komatsu, and it would have been hard to use them with the other space that was rented, if you understand what I'm saying. So they took those 5 offices. So there was nothing that stood in their way. Upstairs, it's unfinished, and that's what's left. We could finish it out, but then you might finish it out, and then the company may not want it that way. So you might be wasting money by finishing it out. So you might just leave it unfinished and let them, let the company or work with the company to finish it out. So that's kind of where we are. We could go for a grant to try to finish some of that out if you think it would help, but again, I don't know if that would help us or not.
There was a water pressure issue on the 2nd floor. Has that been resolved?
The water pressure's been staying constant. Our maintenance has been checking that, and it's been staying.
But the fire suppression systems should be working.
Yeah, that should be good, yes. Thanks for the questions. Others?
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll take a 5-minute break and come back to order. Before we begin the questions of the new board member, it's been pointed out to us that on February 1st and 2nd, several of us will be in Richmond, so we won't be able to attend that meeting. If we went ahead and changed from Thursday to another day, Monday and Tuesday would be available. I mean, for permanently to meet on Monday or Tuesday. I just wondered how you felt about that. The school board meets on, sorry.
The 5th or 6th, February. What day is that?
That, we would adjourn to February the 7th. If we're not here the 1st or the 2nd. But what I'm saying, the school board meets on Tuesday, and there's no reason that we couldn't meet on Tuesday instead of Thursday. Meet the first of the week instead of the end. How do y'all feel about that?
That's fine.
Okay.
Tuesdays are fine.
Okay. We need a motion for that, change it to Tuesday instead of Thursday.
Does that mean we're changing it
All the time until Tuesday, yes. Motion in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to change the meeting date to Tuesday. At what do we have, 6 o'clock?
At 6 p.m.
6 p.m., yes. We have a motion.
I'll make
to
that motion.
Okay, Ms. Glover makes a motion that we move it to Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We have a second. Mr. Manus seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it carries. So that goes to Tuesdays instead of Thursdays. I think that'll be better early in the weekend.
So the February meeting will be the first Tuesday?
Yes.
It'll be the 6th instead?
Yes. 6 o'clock. Okay. Now, next on the agenda is the supervisor's comments, requests, and recommendations, which will be a discussion of questions presented by new elected officials. And I'm not sure how you want to do this, so I'll just, Ms. Starnes, do you have any suggestion?
Mr. Skeen recommended that I just briefly go through each one. Is that still what you'd like done? Okay. The first section is on rural roads. The first question is, how is the VDOT budget determined for each county? So, highway funding for the 6-year plan is derived from state and federal gasoline taxes, vehicle title fees, vehicle sales tax, and 0.5% of state sales tax, and distributed to the primary, urban, and secondary systems after addressing maintenance, admin costs, and other priorities established by the Code of Virginia. Distribution of the available secondary construction funds is based on code, which establishes a 20% area and 80% population factor. The area of each county is derived by GIS mapping, and population figures are obtained from the Weldon Cooper Center at UVA. The distribution formula results in less populated areas receiving less funding than urbanized areas. Unpaved road funds is based on a ratio of unpaved secondary roads in the county serving 50 or more vehicles per day to the total number of such roads in the Commonwealth as indicated in the Code of Virginia. The Unpaved Roads Fund was created by the General Assembly to address the need for paving secondary unpaved roads. The predictability of funding amounts is greatly dictated by the financial climate of the times and changes of funding levels by the federal government. Explain the 6-year plan for paving roads. Local board.
Could I ask, there's several pages here. Could it be okay with the new members if we took turns? I'll just read what she had prepared. That's going to wear her out.
Well, what we had discussed, I don't know if you had time to do it, is just ask the question, or state the question, and then just hit the highlights of each answer, rather than going through detail.
I'll try that.
Okay.
I hit the highlights of that one because it's 4
Okay.
pages, or 4 paragraphs.
Okay.
Explain the 6-year plan for paving roads. The local board of supervisors are provided funding from federal and state sources through VDOT. Secondary 6-year plan is usually done in the spring. It's for six fiscal years. VDOT supplies a list based on the roads that we have given them. Once the roads are depleted on the plan, each board member, this is like into the next question as well, what factors are considered when adding projects to the 6-year plan? What's happened in the past? In the last 7 years, there's only been 1 year where we've had to add roads from the Board of Supervisors, and that was probably about 3 years ago. And at that time, what they did, each board member brought a road that they were interested in having put on the plan. The board members all voted in ranking order from 1 to 7. The road that scored, I don't remember if it was the highest or the least, but we had that based out from 1 to 7, went on the plan first. So all the roads from that plan at that time has been added to the plan now. They were added last year, the last of those. So if there's extra funding in the budget this spring, the Board of Supervisors will go through kind of the same process or whatever process they choose to put the roads on the plan. That seemed to work pretty well for the new roads. So each board member will pick a road from their district, or I guess they could pick any road, and then bring that to the full board to rank to be put on the plan next in line. And that does happen in the spring. Explain the work order process for road repairs. There's a VDOT Customer Service Center. I'm sure if you've got road issues, you know about that. It's at my.vdot.virginia.gov. There's also a link to that on the county website. If you go to scottcountyva.com under residents, down at the bottom, there's a report a road problem link. You can go into there to report your road issues. So this answer was supplied by Alan Sumter. The customer is provided a unique service request number that they can use as a reference for updates. Based on the type of need, the request is forwarded to the appropriate party of VDOT for investigation and resolution. Maintenance issues in Scott County are directed either to the Pattonsville or Fort Blackmore area headquarters, depending on the location. Safety sensitive issues, of course, get priority, and cleaning out ditches, grading unpaved roads, etc., such as routine maintenance, are prioritized within the headquarters work plan. How can residents track the progress of their work order? The question has been answered as part of number 4, so let's see. When a customer request is received, VDOT staff members attempts to contact the customer.
I might can help you out with that.
Okay.
According to Mr. Sumter's response, he said residents have a problem, they call into the customer service, they get an assigned number. Within 3 days, now, correct me if I'm misstating this, within 3 days, they'll have an on-site visit from one of their people, and a short time after that, they'll be calling you by phone to let you know what the status is and the work plan. Then if there's any changes in that schedule, they'll get back with you and tell you what the schedule change is. The people here that have gone through that process, is that the way it works?
We have never got a call back from, I don't know how many work order numbers. Stephanie called in dust control. All during the summer of 2023, we got 1 dust control treatment, 1. But I called it in several times, and I had never heard back from them.
From what I'm hearing, people, when we campaign, others jump in.
Yes.
There's no communication. Once you submit the work order, it ends at that point. So I think we need to deal with it.
Excuse me, Eddie, sometimes you will see a VDOT truck drive through, but that's it. But no contact other than seeing him on the road,
Could I say, when we went to Richmond last year, year before last, one or the other, we had the main man from Richmond over VDOT there. We had people from Bristol there, and they promised us that they would send us monthly, I think it was, Frida, updates on everything in Scott County. And I think we got two,
2 months worth.
and in 2 years, that's all we got.
Yeah.
So when we go back in February, that'll be one thing we'll bring up again. That's all we can do.
Yeah, and Mr. Sumter will be here in February.
We can ask him these questions. Seems like there's a disconnect between his office and the field. What he's outlined in his answer is perfect. I mean, if it worked that way, I think everybody'd be happy. But to me, from what I'm hearing, it's totally opposite of what he stated in his response.
What is the mowing contractor's bidding process and their typical mowing schedules? VDOT uses statewide EVA procurement system to solicit all maintenance contract work, including mowing. Contracts are developed at the residency level in accordance with VDOT central office requirements and advertised for bids, typically in the winter months. Like all contracts, an evaluation of bids is performed after the bid date and a decision made regarding award. At the onset of the mowing season, a pre-work meeting is held with the contractor to discuss their work plan and discuss safety items. VDOT tasks the contractors to perform mowing within the scope of VDOT's best practices. These practices include typically mowing primary routes 3 times each season, including completion of the first cycle prior to Memorial Day holiday, and the last cycle approximately close to the first frost of the fall season. Secondary routes are typically mowed twice per season. Weather conditions are a strong variable each mowing season, and thus additional or less mowing cycles may be requested of the contractor. And I do know that the area headquarters will come out if there's an issue with sight distance, like if you're having to cross I know where I live, if I make the left onto my road off of 23, sometimes the weeds get really tall there, and if you're in a car, you can't see the oncoming traffic. And if you put in a request for those, they will come out and weed eat that area immediately where you can make the sight distance safely.
I had one person tell me that Kudzu was probably coming off the state road onto 71. She had to listen to see if there's oncoming traffic.
Wow.
Because everything she couldn't see. And I have a feeling that happens a lot. You're having the same experience.
There appears to be staffing issues within our county VDOT department. Is there anything that the county can do to assist with their recruiting efforts? VDOT presently has a staffing level of 27 employees assigned to the maintenance offices located in Scott County. During calendar year 2024, I guess it should be 2023, there have been several employees who have left the agency due to resignations or retirement. Recruitment efforts have resulted in employment of 3 new employees, and there are an additional 5 who are in the final stages of hiring. There have also been 3 positions filled by internal transfers from other work units. Presently, VDOT has not experienced any issues with recruitment for the Scott County offices. It should also be noted that VDOT uses contractors to supplement its workforce in Scott County, including hired equipment to assist maintenance crews as needed. Service contracts such as mowing, traffic control, tree trimming, and asphalt patching are also used as needed to accomplish work. And you were supplied a copy of the VDOT Board of Supervisors manual to use as reference, and a VDOT Best Practices manual was emailed to you yesterday afternoon.
Can I say one?
Sure.
Mr. Sumter, in his response, said they had the full staff. They didn't have a problem staffing their departments. But I did get a call in regards to work orders. Said they were understaffed here locally and they couldn't handle the work. So again, there's a disconnect between, in this case, Wise and their field offices. And that's something we can address with Mr. Sumter. But is anybody else hearing this? Or?
Yes, I have, Eddie, heard it several times. What Frida just read, all over the county, I don't know anywhere that they've mowed it 3 times in the last several years, or for every year. Frida read there then, how about frost time, they'll mow it the second time. Of course, you were where I live on Highway 65, a lot of deer. They'll step right out of the high grass in front of you, and there's no way you can miss them. And I'm sure you folks is having the same issues. The stuff free to read, it sounds good, but it don't work with VDOT. I tried to sign up several years ago to mow. Should be 2 years before the contract come up. I waited. I called them up 30 days before the contract was supposed to come. Oh, we done filled them. I said, why didn't you send me one? So what Frida's reading here, maybe it's the way it works, but it don't work on the other end somehow. And
That's when we need to talk to Mr. Sumter when he comes.
so, listen, I don't want any of y'all think that we are not listening, because I think we've all had the same issues that you folks is having. And so that's something that I will be looking at to see if we can get some of these problems solved for you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Just, we were talking about a disconnect between, I think there's a disconnect between their contractors that they contract work out to. I'll give you a prime example. Like, year before last, in the spring, they put down new, painted all new stripes on the lines on the highway on Ryco Memorial. Less than 2 weeks later, the slurry people came in and put down slurry over the brand new lines that they just painted. So there's a huge disconnect between the contractors that they use. So basically it's a waste of money, state money, county money, taxpayer money by striping the lines, coming in 2 weeks later, cover them up and have them go back and restripe them again.
Rita?
Okay. The board members would like to do a public work session on ongoing road issues. That'll be scheduled coming up. Mr. Dingus did come up with a sample survey that was requested in these questions. The survey, we're going to try to get that distributed to school bus drivers, sheriff's deputies, and U.S. postal carriers to see if they'll help complete this survey. And it goes into like information of like which one of those they fall into, a bus driver, a deputy, or a U.S. postal carrier, where they're seeing unsafe road conditions, the frequency and timing that they're seeing these issues, and any suggestions and recommendations they have for the concerns about the road issues that they see on a daily basis, and then a place for some comments and conclusions. So we'll try to get, if that's the majority of the board's feelings on the public work session and the survey, we'll move forward on that. The next topic is self-service dead zones. There are widespread cell phone dead zones throughout the county. What is the current state for improved coverage? And I did talk to Mr. Gilmer, our building official, and he does not have any work orders or have any new contact recently with cell phone companies. We've had new towers on 72 and in Nicholsville most recently, but besides that, that's what we have on our cell phone coverage right now. Trash.
Can I check something? Thanks, Mr. Dingus, for the survey. Did an excellent job on it. We spoke with Mr. Kilgore earlier about a work session, which Ms. Starnes referenced. We're wanting to do a work session on roads, another one on cell towers. It's my understanding that Mr. Kilgore would be available at some point in the future. I don't know if he said when, but it sounds like April. Is that kind of, he said March is pretty busy through March. Yeah. Is there some, with the other board's thoughts on it, but could we try to schedule something for April for these work sessions? And that would be Mr. Kilgore and on the parts of the roads, Mr. Pillion, the VDOT people, including Bristol and Wise and local. The other board members want to comment?
It could be a good idea, but the less meetings the better. So if we could get them all in
One day.
probably more likely to get the people that we want.
I'll check, it depends on when the budget's passed, that can get drug on, but we'll make contact and see what their schedule looks like for April. The next topic is trash and convenience centers. What is the current strategy for hours of operation at convenience centers? We currently have those centers staffed 24 hours with part-time employees. They're open 24/7. They close at 8 p.m. on Saturday and reopen on Monday morning at 7. And the only two that are closed at night are Yuma and Carter's Valley, and that's because of their proximity to Tennessee. The reason that we cut back from the convenience centers being staffed 48 hours per week was during a budget reduction about 8 or 9 years ago. So that's why those people were cut, the number of people were cut in half. So that's why they're unmanned at certain times throughout the week. They are there to keep, to try to keep the Tennessee residents out, to keep the sites clean. They do shut the gates when the trucks come in to dump for safety reasons for the citizens where they're not in trying to throw their trash in when the trucks are trying to do their operations in the sites. Why are centers closed at times during normal scheduled operation? If a site gets closed, it is because they are full. We have a truck issue and we're not able to get there. As you saw this past week, that's the busiest week of the year for trash. So your site was probably closed until we could get around to all the sites. With the number of sites that we have throughout the county, we can't be at every one of them at the exact moment. So it takes time to get throughout the county. If they're left open, we have shown that individuals will continue to add waste on top of the full bins or stack it on the ground. This takes time for the truck drivers or the attendant to have to load that trash up and put it in a dumpster before it can be dumped. They cannot get into the boxes if there's trash littered all around them, bags piled up, so that's why the gates do shut when the bins become full. We have a transfer station in Midway. They're open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 4. It's never closed during those times. So if you go to one of your waste sites and it's closed, let's say at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, you do have the option of taking your trash to the transfer station, because there you can just dump it out on the transfer floor instead of having to put it in a bin. This also works if you have a lot of household trash that you're getting rid of at one time. You know, if you're elderly and you're not able to throw the bags over in the bins, if you go to the transfer station, you know, you can just push it out onto the floor instead of having to put it over into one of the bins. That works well for some of the elderly people. And usually we only see sites full on Monday mornings or right after a holiday. It's been working pretty well as far as having to be closed during normal operating hours unless it is a holiday or spring cleaning.
I have a comment on this right here.
Okay.
With Weber City discontinuing their trash pickup, that's made it a problem with those folks having to go to either Hilton's or going to Yuma. Is there a possibility of us putting another site out to help with this? Because these centers are getting closed, and I understand it was holiday and all that, but I do believe that there's now going to be more trash coming to Hilton's and going to go to the Yuma community too.
I have met with VDOT. The one we had in Moccasin Gap was on VDOT property, and that was closed during the construction period and was not allowed to open back up per VDOT. I have met with them to talk about acquiring that piece of land, so that's still in the works. So it may be something that can happen. We'll just have to see about that piece of property.
Okay, good. That'd be
River
great.
City has about 800 households that was on their trash pickup. A number of them may privately contract with a contractor to keep that service, and a number of them may start visiting those sites. So the true effects of that is yet to be seen.
Okay.
You know, we'll know more. You know, you can ask me that again in 6 months, and we might be able to have some tangible numbers saying that, yeah, this affected this, or we're seeing Yuma, we see Yuma full every day anyway, but, you know, we may see Hilton's full more often, and if the VDOT thing doesn't work out, we may have to look at alternatives, which would cost, you know, finding the site, buying the equipment.
I live
Yeah.
near the Hilton's trash site, so I've noticed that there's more vehicles coming up the road and going to the site. And when I've been going to the site, they've been pretty busy,
Yeah.
so.
That just started this week though, right? I mean, they had household pickup until
The first of the year.
first of the year, so, remains to be seen the full
Well, I
effect
think
of
that they were
that.
having issues with just the people coming out and picking up the trash. Nobody was coming to
okay.
pick it up.
Okay.
So a lot of people were calling the area that were the pickup center, so.
I did have a couple more in the question. Have you covered that pretty much, that
Yeah.
area? Would adding more bins create more tonnage, or would you still get the same total tonnage?
That was one of your questions, let's see here.
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay. The number of dumpsters at the site is not necessarily the limiting factor on how much waste we can move through the county. If you think about the solid waste, we call it a waste stream. It goes from you buying the stuff at the store to your trash can in your kitchen, to the waste site, to the transfer station, to the landfill for its final disposal. So that is like a stream going through. So like at Duffield, for example, not every site has room for additional dumpsters, but say Duffield does. You know, it's a big site. So there's about 14 dumpsters at Duffield presently. So there's probably room to put 14 more. However, the truck that visits Duffield Monday morning can handle about 25 dumpsters. It's according, I mean, that varies a little bit, how much it will pack. If it's wet, it'll pack a little more. But anyway, 25 dumpsters before it has to go unload, either at the transfer station or direct haul to Bluntmore. So it would go to Duffield, and if it picked up all the dumpsters at Duffield, it wouldn't be able to go early to Lynchport, Rye Cove, maybe Fort Blackmore, other sites on that run, and those sites would be full and may have to close, if that makes sense.
It does, where you have the opportunity to place more.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with leaving them there with trash in it?
Well, that would help until they all filled up, and then you'd still be at the same capacity of being able to pick up what you could throughout the week.
I'm thinking, and I saw some pictures this week, people come and the site's closed or it's full, and on the way home, it goes over the hill. I'd rather have it at the site and the extra dumpsters than on the way home.
Well, Mr. King, if say you had those 28 dumpsters at Duffield, and all of them filled up, but we could only pick up 25 of them. And by the time we get back around to all 14 sites, those 25 are or those 14 are filled up again. Once the other dumpsters are filled up, you would never catch back up.
So you're saying by adding more dumpsters, there's more total tonnage at that site?
Sure.
Or is it just, there's more, how can that be?
Well, people,
Say if you got 50 tons a week at Duffield, and you've got 15 dumpsters, you add 15 more, when you still have 50 tons, it instead of people going and not being able to unload, they had to go home with it or they throw it over the hill. Why not leave the extra dumpsters there and let them use them? And just whenever you get to it, you come back and fill up.
That may work sometimes, but we're visiting almost at least 13 of these sites or 12 of these sites every day, 6 days a week. And if we don't visit the site, they fill up. They're filled up the next morning. So if Duffield, if you had 28 dumpsters there, it'd be full.
What I'm
Monday
saying is
morning.
just pick up the 14 or 15, and go back to Rye Cove and finish your regular route. You're still gonna leave like 14 dumpsters with trash in it, but that's okay. It's not on the ground outside the facility. I'd rather have it in there in dumpsters, sitting, waiting to be picked up, as thrown over the hill on the way home. People don't like to go and not be able to unload
No.
with the gate closed, so that would prevent the gate being closed, I think.
Would we have to purchase more dumpsters?
Yep.
Definitely have to purchase more dumpsters.
Yep.
How many
But,
trucks do we have?
like I said, our capacity is the number of trucks we
I was
have.
gonna say, that's the
I mean,
limit.
adding more trucks and more drivers would increase your capacity to keep it moving through the waste stream.
Yeah, those trucks are really good. The trucks is the issue.
Another question I had, commercial locations. I know we have some in the county. Can they just go and use the facilities at convenience centers,
Like a store.
stores?
A store can take like a bag of trash or the recyclables to the centers.
Like cardboard?
Mhm.
In Weber City and Gate City, on the commercial locations, how do they handle theirs?
You'd have to ask Gate City. I know.
I think they contract with Waste Management.
You know, I think some of the, like PALs, for example, I think they contract with Waste Management, but I guess they see that as a easier payout than having somebody from their store haul it to a center. Having a truck and all that.
I think a lot of times the home remodeling and new construction fill up the bins pretty rapidly.
Yes.
Is there any way to-
We have contractors and people that have used our sites because they're not manned when they're open. Convenience comes at a cost.
Yes.
We cannot man them 24 hours a week and have them open 24/7, Monday through Saturday, and control Tennessee trash and contractors misusing it. We just can't do it.
Is there any way to require contractors to have to go to Midway and unload?
They are required to go to Midway and unload their stuff,
So
but they
if they use-
use the sites.
If they use the local site, then they're not, that's illegal.
Yes.
Okay. What evidence does the judge or the Commonwealth Attorney need to successfully prosecute the misuse?
Well, they need, well, that's a wide open, you know, you could have a witness, or you could have camera footage that shows that we've gotten convictions on egregious misuse, somebody dumping right on the ground, you know, intentionally backing up and got their tags and had convictions. But normally, it's very lenient or none at all on prosecution of people going in and using open bins, regardless of who they are or where they're from. We just haven't had a lot of luck getting big fines on that.
Which you mentioned educational measures, is preventative, is that working?
I don't know why anybody would not be educated not to litter and to use their sites appropriately, but we have people that both litter and misuse the sites. It's unfortunately, it's just a selfish mentality, and they care about more of their convenience more than just following basic rules.
You do a litter
Society.
campaign. You do a litter awareness campaign.
Mhm. Yes, we do litter awareness campaign every year. Stacy Cook and our litter control officer has participated in school programs.
Co-mingled trash, like metal and wood in the big bins. Once that gets back to Midway, what do you do with it?
We have metal bins and junk bins. We call them junk bins. They're for large furniture, like at the sites. People are supposed to put the metal in the metal bin for recycling, and their sofa in the other bin. When it's so mixed up that's not feasible to, we've had metal bins that's been so contaminated that we couldn't do anything with, and it's just sent on to the landfill. But we're pretty successful in recycling our metal. We recycle anywhere between 300 to 400,000 pounds of metal every year. The way that works, we have the metal bins at the site. When they fill, the guys haul it to a metal pile that we have established at the landfill and keep record of how much is coming. When it gets over 300,000 pounds or so, they'll let me know, and I put out a RFP or request for bids asking who wants this metal pile, and they bid it per CT, which is 100 weights. Currently, we've got one that just went out, and Thompson Metal got the contract for $4 a CT. So they come, pick the metal up, haul it across our transfer station scales, and haul it and do whatever they do with it. And then when they're finished, they cut us a check for that weight divided by 100 times their bid. Yeah, I think the last one maybe was about $17,000. Yeah, it's usually around $15,000, $17,000. And that weight varies because when they tell me it's 300,000, well, they're still hauling. And while they're picking it up, they have a month to pick it up and get it out of there. We're still hauling, so it always varies a little bit. And there's some waste in that too. It may be a swing set that has a bunch of plastic on it that, you know, it's not necessarily metal, so it ends up in the trash.
Does the EQ prohibit trash from being stored on the floor at Midway?
Yes.
Everything's got to be in the trucks.
We don't supposed to have any open trash on the floor, and we do a good job of that. The only time I know, and since I've been here, that we've had to have trash on the floor overnight is when our loader broke down, and we didn't have anything to push it in there, and that was just one night, I think, that we had to leave it. But yeah, we've got to push it over in to the.
The reason I asked, I just wondered if they could go in after hours and unload and leave it on the floor, but you're saying they can't.
The local, I mean, just leave it open.
Your people.
At
your trucks.
Oh, no. You're running like a second shift?
Yes.
Kind of thing? No, that wouldn't.
Somebody's got to be there to push it in.
Yeah, we've got to pack it up. Yeah.
Couple brief questions here. The VDOT removal of orange trash bags.
Yes. There's around 3 types of circumstance that you would have that you would see orange bags on the side of the road. One is our assign a highway program that a litter control officer administers. And these are people on probation that's put into that program that our litter control officer assigns them a section of highway. A lot of these people don't have a driver's license, so those highways are usually assigned pretty close to where they live. And they'll have a section from here to here and pick it up and put it in orange bags. They report to Stacy, our litter control officer, what they picked up and where they picked up, and Stacy sends that to VDOT. and an email. He usually copies me. And, you know, it'll be 3 or 4 different roads, orange bags here. So that's how we report. Another way that you see orange bags is the Scott Services program in the county. They may have a crew out picking up a stretch, and they usually hit the bigger roads or a problem area. And Justin Venable, I think, I'm not for sure on that, but I think he sends VDOT that directly from him. I don't think he goes through Stacy to do that. And then the third, you might see one of the jails or prisons go out and have a crew. And usually that's when you see the blue bus and the guy with the shotgun and a crew picking up. And their process on informing VDOT, I don't know. But ultimately, it's VDOT's responsibility to pick these orange bags up, and they are told where the bags are.
You feel like that's working?
No, sir, I do not. No, I get just as frustrated as anybody when I see faded out orange bags with the weeds growing up around it. And you know, I've made the joke that it seems like people don't care much about the litter bin on the side of the road until it's in an orange bag. So when it gets in the orange bag, they sure call us about it and ask us. And I understand. It's one of those things that we don't have the manpower to do that. I mean, it's VDOT's responsibility, but I feel like if we ever did it, we'd own it forever.
Yes.
So we've got to be really careful about, you know, we'll do it. We need to pressure VDOT to make sure they do it.
Based on Mr. Sumter's comments, they hadn't had people to get the job done. So again, that's another question I think we need to ask him. And the last question on that is, are you having any delays at the Bluntville landfill with your trash trucks unloading?
Occasionally. They're going through a process right now where they're closing one cell and opening another, and that has caused a little bit of delay in previous weeks or here lately. But for the most part, it runs pretty smooth. You know, why we directly haul to the landfill is to save the haul bill from the transfer station, which is about $7 a ton. And I'll recheck my calculations. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know. But it looks like we've saved up to $50,000 since April on direct hauling to that landfill, minus any difference in fuel. That's a little bit. It's a little bit longer to go to Bluntville than it is with our transfer station, of course. But it's significant savings, and it reduces the stress on the transfer station of loading trailers, reduces the number of trailers, tractor and trailers coming across Midway Road, and our packer trucks going across Midway Road. But yeah, we encounter some delays sometimes, and you know, when it rains, they're backing into a landfill. We've had a few tires that we've had to replace, but when you counter that with saving $50,000, you know, it's worth the aggravation, I guess. Drivers might have a different opinion, but so far it seems like something we ought to do.